In a world where secrets run deep and family ties are everything, the Chijon family stands at the center of a gripping saga. Known for their incredible wealth and influence, they appear to have it all, until one fateful night changes everything. A shocking betrayal unravels their carefully constructed lives, revealing hidden agendas and long-buried resentments. As they navigate the treacherous waters of loyalty and revenge, alliances will shift, and the true meaning of family will be put to the ultimate test. Who can be trusted when the stakes are this high? Get ready for a whirlwind of emotions, twists, and turns that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Welcome to the tumultuous world of the Chijon family, where love and betrayal collide in spectacular fashion. But before we dive in, some of the details in this story are disturbing and may not be suitable for all audiences, so viewer discretion is strongly advised. As always, remember to hit the like button, share the video, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to stay up to date with the channel. Alright, let's dive into the video. In the early 1990s, South Korea was a nation grappling with significant economic disparity and social unrest. The rapid industrialization that had transformed the country into an economic powerhouse also led to stark inequalities. While a burgeoning middle class enjoyed newfound wealth, many young people faced unemployment and disillusionment, exacerbated by corruption scandals that shook public trust. One such scandal involved the manipulation of college entrance exams, igniting widespread anger among those who felt marginalized by a system that favored the wealthy. This environment of despair and resentment provided fertile ground for the rise of youth gangs, including the notorious Chijon family. The Chijon family was formed in 1993 under the leadership of Kim Gi-hwan, a former convict whose life had been marred by hardship and failure. Kim's early years were marked by poverty. He dropped out of school at a young age due to financial difficulties and later found himself entangled in crime. His discontent with societal inequalities intensified after witnessing the corruption surrounding educational opportunities. During a fateful poker game in the summer of 1993, Kim met fellow disillusioned youths, Moon Sang-rok and Kim Hyun-yang, who shared his grievances against the affluent. Together they articulated a disturbing ideology, a collective hatred towards the wealthy. As their bond solidified, they expanded their ranks by recruiting other individuals who harbored similar resentments. The gang's manifesto was simple yet chilling: "We hate the rich." This declaration not only served as their guiding principle, but also justified their descent into violence. They believed that their actions were a form of retribution against those who lived lives of privilege while they struggled to survive. The initial crimes committed by the Chijon family were heinous acts that foreshadowed their future atrocities. Their first major crime occurred on July 18, 1993, when they abducted Miss Choi, a farmer's daughter in Daejeon. What began as an act of violence against an innocent victim escalated into a brutal initiation ritual for the gang members. They gang raped her before Kim Gi-hwan himself strangled her to death, using her murder as a grotesque demonstration of power and control. This horrific act marked their transition from mere criminals to a gang defined by extreme brutality and depravity. As they continued to commit violent acts, the Chijon family's ideology evolved into a twisted justification for their crimes, a belief that they were cleansing society of its dirty elements. This rationalization would lead them down an even darker path, as they sought to establish a permanent base for their operations. Their motivations were not only personal but also deeply rooted in their perception of societal injustice. In summary, the formation of the Chijon family was a response to the social and economic turmoil of early 1990s South Korea. Led by Kim Gi-hwan and fueled by a collective hatred for the wealthy, this gang's initial crimes set the stage for a reign of terror that would leave an indelible mark on South Korean society. The Chijon family's descent into depravity began with a horrifying act that would set the tone for their reign of terror. On July 18, 1993, they abducted Miss Choi Mi-ja, a 23-year-old bank teller, marking their first major crime. This brutal act was not merely an isolated incident, it was a grotesque initiation ritual that would define the gang's future. Miss Choi was walking home after work when she became the target of the gang. They had been lurking in the shadows waiting for an opportunity to strike. As she approached a bus stop, Kim Gi-hwan and his accomplices seized her, dragging her into a nearby vehicle. The gang transported her to a secluded hill in Nonsan, where they unleashed their violent intentions. The psychological profile of the gang members during this initiation reveals a chilling transformation. Driven by a shared ideology of hatred towards the wealthy, they viewed their actions as both a rite of passage and a demonstration of power. Kim Gi-hwan, in particular, relished the control he exerted over his followers as they participated in this horrific act. Once at the secluded location, Kim Gi-hwan ordered his gang to take turns assaulting Miss Choi. The brutality escalated as he ultimately decided that she could not be allowed to live. In a twisted display of dominance, he strangled her while instructing his followers on how to dispose of evidence. This act marked their transition from petty criminals to a gang defined by extreme violence and depravity. With Miss Choi's murder, the Chijon family crossed an irrevocable line into darkness. Their initial crime set off a chain reaction that would lead to further acts of violence and terror. In the months following Miss Choi's abduction and murder, the gang's violence escalated dramatically. They began targeting individuals they perceived as wealthy or well-connected. Their methods became increasingly brutal and calculated as they sought to establish themselves within South Korea's criminal underworld. One notable case involved the abduction of So Yuno and his wife in early 1994. The couple was taken under similar circumstances as Miss Choi, but this time the gang had more sinister plans. They demanded a ransom of 100 million won, believing that So's financial background made him an ideal target for extortion. As the Chijon family continued their reign of terror, they became more adept at manipulating their victims and evading law enforcement. Their hideout in Bulgap-Mayon served as both a base for operations and a makeshift prison where they held their captives. The couple's ordeal was harrowing. They were subjected to psychological torment as the gang members debated whether to kill them when it became clear that ransom would not be forthcoming. Frustration mounted within the group, leading to violent outbursts and further acts of brutality. The escalation of violence reached its peak when one member of the gang suggested killing their captives as an example to deter future victims. This suggestion reflected not only their growing depravity, but also their complete detachment from humanity. As tensions within the group grew, so did their willingness to commit heinous acts against anyone who crossed them. After several months without significant criminal activity following their initial spree, they decided to lay low while constructing their permanent hideout. However, this did not stop them from plotting new atrocities. In addition to Miss Choi and So Yuno, other victims fell prey to the Chijon family's insatiable thirst for violence. One such victim was Lee Jong-soo, who was abducted alongside her boyfriend in September 1994. The couple was held captive while being subjected to horrific treatment at the hands of the gang members. Lee Jong-soo's story is particularly haunting. She was forced to witness her boyfriend's murder after being coerced into participating in his execution. This act not only exemplified the gang's brutality, but also highlighted how deeply entrenched their ideology had become. As Lee managed to escape and alert authorities about her captors, it became clear that the Chijon family had spiraled into chaos, driven by fear, desperation, and an unquenchable thirst for power over others. The first atrocities committed by the Chijon family serve as a grim reminder of how quickly humanity can devolve into savagery when fueled by hatred and desperation. Their story is not just one of crime, it is a horrifying exploration of what happens when the individuals lose all sense of morality. The narrative surrounding these early crimes paints a chilling picture of how societal issues can manifest in violence, creating monsters out of disillusioned youths seeking vengeance against perceived injustices. As we delve deeper into this dark history, we will uncover how these initial acts set in motion events that would lead to one of South Korea's most notorious criminal sagas. As the Chijon family's reign of terror escalated, they sought a permanent base for their operations, a place that would serve as both a hideout and a prison for their victims. In the secluded outskirts of Bulgap-Mayon, they discovered an abandoned house that it would become synonymous with their horrific crimes. The house was situated on a desolate stretch of land, surrounded by dense woods that provided natural cover from prying eyes. Its dilapidated exterior, with peeling paint and the shattered windows, gave it an eerie presence. Overgrown weeds and unkempt grass concealed the entrance, creating an unsettling ambiance that matched the gang's sinister intentions. This isolation not only shielded them from law enforcement, but also amplified the psychological terror for anyone unfortunate enough to be taken there. The atmosphere within the abandoned house was suffocating, filled with an oppressive silence that echoed the despair of its past. It was here that the gang would transform this seemingly innocuous structure into a makeshift prison, preparing it for future abductions. Inside, they meticulously arranged the space to facilitate their brutal activities. They had cleared out one of the larger rooms, transforming it into a holding cell where captives would be confined. The walls were stripped bare, leaving behind a cold and unwelcoming environment. The gang installed metal restraints bolted to the floor, ensuring that their victims would have no chance of escape. In another room, they set up a makeshift torture chamber equipped with various tools designed for inflicting pain, an unsettling testament to their growing depravity. The psychological implications of this hideout were profound. It became a symbol of their complete detachment from humanity. The gang members viewed this space not just as a physical location, but as an extension of their twisted ideology, a place where they could exert power over others without consequence. As they prepared their hideout, the Chijon family's mindset underwent a chilling transformation. They meticulously planned each abduction, often discussing potential targets in detail. Their previous experiences had taught them valuable lessons about evasion and control, leading them to refine their methods. They believed that by choosing victims who appeared affluent or well-connected, they could maximize the impact of their crimes. The gang's planning sessions were marked by a disturbing sense of camaraderie. They revealed their shared hatred for the wealthy and found solace in each other's company as they plotted further atrocities. This bond deepened their resolve to carry out increasingly violent acts. Execution became an essential part of their strategy. They adopted a systematic approach to abductions, surveilling potential victims before striking at opportune moments. This methodical planning allowed them to minimize risks and maximize terror. Each successful abduction reinforced their belief in their invincibility. In addition to physical preparations, they also engaged in psychological manipulation among themselves. Kim Gi-hwan often reminded his followers that their actions were justified as long as they targeted those who embodied societal injustice. This rationalization allowed them to compartmentalize their horrific deeds and maintain an illusion of moral superiority. As the Chijon family settled into their new hideout, they became increasingly emboldened by their perceived success. The abandoned house transformed from a mere structure into a fortress of fear, a place where nightmares came to life. Their hideout not only served as a base for criminal activities, but also became a breeding ground for further violence and depravity. The gang members grew more comfortable in their roles as captors, relishing the power dynamics at play as they tortured and degraded their victims. In summary, the creation of the Chijon family's hideout marked a pivotal moment in their criminal evolution. It was here that they solidified their identity as one of South Korea's most notorious gangs, where planning and execution intertwined with a chilling detachment from humanity. As we continue to explore this dark saga, we will uncover how this hideout facilitated some of the most horrific crimes in South Korean history. Before we continue on, if you are enjoying the story so far, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And if you don't like it, let me know down in the comments. Your support truly means everything. Alright, back to the video. Among the many victims of the Chijon family, none is more haunting than Lee Jung-soo, a 27-year-old cafe worker whose life was forever altered on the night of September 8, 1994. Alongside her boyfriend, a 34-year-old musician, Lee became ensnared in the gang's web of terror after being mistakenly identified as wealthy due to the car they drove, a Hyundai Grandeur, a symbol of affluence at the time. On that fateful night, Lee and her boyfriend were enjoying a casual outing when they stopped at a motel in Yongsu-ri. Unbeknownst to them, the Chijon family had been lurking nearby. having heard rumors that motels in the area were frequented by affluent individuals. As the couple prepared to leave, they were ambushed by the gang, who trapped their vehicle with two others, a pickup truck behind and a Daewoo Le Mans in front. The gang's attack was swift and brutal. Armed with gas guns, they incapacitated Lee's boyfriend before dragging both of them from their car. Bound and terrified, they were taken to an abandoned house that would become their prison. Inside the hideout, Lee and her boyfriend endured unimaginable horrors. The gang members subjected them to physical violence and psychological torment as they interrogated them about their finances. Despite their pleas for mercy, it quickly became evident that the gang had mistaken them for wealthy targets. When it became clear that they could not extract a significant ransom, the situation escalated further. The psychological manipulation employed by the Chijon family was chilling. They forced Lee to participate in her boyfriend's murder to ensure she could never escape or report them to the authorities. Under duress, she was made to place plastic wrap over his head and suffocate him while he was made to drink liquor, a grotesque act designed to shatter her spirit. After committing this horrific act, the gang disposed of her boyfriend's body by placing it in the driver's seat of his car and pushing it off a cliff, attempting to stage it as a drunken accident. But their cruelty did not end there. They also subjected Lee to further violence. In a cruel twist of fate, Lee Jong-soo was gang-raped at the same location where her boyfriend was murdered, an act that served to further strip away her humanity and dignity. The psychological impact of these events would haunt Lee long after her escape. On September 16th, during a chaotic moment when one of the gang members left her alone at a hospital following a botched dynamite practice session intended to free Kim Gi-hwan from prison, she seized her chance. Unsure if she could trust anyone, she fled from the hospital and took a taxi towards safety. Lee's escape was fraught with fear. She knew that if caught, her life would be forfeit. She managed to reach Daejeon before calling a friend who reported her ordeal to law enforcement on her behalf. Overwhelmed by trauma and fear of retaliation from the Chijon family's supposed vast network, she initially hesitated to approach authorities herself. Once she felt secure enough to go to the police station in Seoul, Lee recounted her harrowing experience. Her testimony would prove crucial in unraveling the Chijon family's reign of terror. The emotional toll on Lee Jong-soo was immense. She had witnessed unspeakable horrors and been forced into complicity in her boyfriend's murder, an act that left indelible scars on her psyche. The trauma manifested in nightmares and anxiety that it would follow her for years. Lee's story serves as a poignant reminder of how quickly lives can be shattered by violence and how survivors must grapple with their experiences long after the physical threats have dissipated. In sharing her account with law enforcement, she played an instrumental role in bringing attention to the atrocities committed by the Chijon family. As we reflect on Lee Jong-soo's harrowing journey from victimhood to survival, we confront uncomfortable truths about human resilience in the face of unimaginable evil. Her courage in escaping not only saved her life but also paved the way for justice against those who had inflicted so much pain. The nightmare that Lee Jong-soo endured did not end with her escape. It marked the beginning of a harrowing investigation that would expose the chilling reality of the Chijon family. When Lee finally managed to reach safety, she reported her ordeal to the authorities, but the initial response was one of disbelief. Lee's testimony was so shocking that even the police were hesitant to take her seriously. At first, they dismissed her claims as exaggerated or fabricated, a common reaction to reports of such extreme violence. However, as Lee provided more details about her boyfriend's murder and the gang's activities, skepticism began to wane. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, Captain Ko Byung-cheon of the Seocho police station took charge of the investigation. His initial doubts transformed into urgency as he realized that Lee's account was not only credible, but indicative of a larger, more sinister operation. The police quickly launched a full-scale investigation, mobilizing resources to track down the Chijon family. They began by interviewing Lee in depth, gathering information about her captors and their hideout. This led them to focus on Bulgup-myeon, where they believed the gang had established their base. As detectives delved deeper into their investigation, they uncovered evidence that would send shockwaves through South Korea. Upon raiding the Chijon family's hideout, officers were confronted with a scene that defied comprehension. Inside the abandoned house, detectives found an array of disturbing evidence: tools used for torture and dismemberment, bloodstains on the floors and walls, and remnants of previous victims. The atmosphere was thick with horror. It was clear that this place had been a site of unimaginable suffering. Among the most chilling discoveries were personal items belonging to victims, belongings that told silent stories of lives cruelly extinguished. The gang had meticulously documented their crimes, leaving behind a trail of evidence that would ultimately lead to their downfall. In addition to physical evidence, police also uncovered testimonies from former associates of the gang who had distanced themselves from Kim Gi-hwan and his followers. These individuals provided critical insights into the gang's operations and motivations. As details emerged about the gang's activities, public reaction was swift and visceral. Media coverage exploded as news outlets reported on the gruesome nature of the crimes committed by the Chijon family. The nation was gripped by fear and outrage. Society was left reeling from revelations about how ordinary individuals could descend into such depths of depravity. The public outcry prompted discussions about safety, crime prevention, and societal issues that allowed such violence to flourish. This case not only highlighted individual acts of horror, but also exposed systemic failures within society, failures that allowed a gang like the Chijon family to thrive unnoticed for so long. As investigations continued, authorities faced pressure to ensure justice for Lee Jong-soo and other victims. The public demanded accountability for both the perpetrators and any law enforcement lapses that had allowed these crimes to occur. Ultimately, the investigation into the Chijon family revealed not just a criminal enterprise but a reflection of societal fractures, deep-seated resentments against wealth and privilege that had festered in silence until they erupted into violence. The reign of terror perpetrated by the Chijon family came to a dramatic end in late 1994, following a series of events that would shock the nation. After Lee Jong-soo's harrowing escape and subsequent testimony, law enforcement intensified their efforts to track down the gang members responsible for the heinous crimes. The timeline leading to their arrest began shortly after Lee's report. Police launched a full-scale investigation, focusing on Bulgap Mayon, where they believed the gang had established their hideout. On October 14, 1994, police conducted a raid on the abandoned house based on intelligence gathered from Lee's detailed account. As officers approached, the gang members were caught off guard, leading to a chaotic confrontation. In a tense standoff, police apprehended several members of the Chijon family. The gang's leader, Kim Gi-hwan, was among those captured, along with key accomplices like Kang Moon-seop and Kim Hyun-young. Their attempts to flee into the surrounding woods were thwarted by law enforcement, who had anticipated their escape routes. The investigation revealed a horrifying scene within the hideout. Tools of torture, bloodstains, and remnants of previous victims littered the premises. The evidence collected during the raid was overwhelming and painted a grim picture of the gang's operations. As the trial commenced in early 1995, it became clear that this case would captivate not only South Korea, but also the world. Key testimonies from survivors and police officers provided chilling insights into the gang's brutality. Lee Jong-soo's emotional recounting of her abduction and her boyfriend's murder left an indelible mark on everyone present in the courtroom. During the trial proceedings, Lee's courage in sharing her story was met with both empathy and horror. Her testimony detailed not only her physical suffering, but also the psychological torment inflicted upon her. This emotional weight resonated deeply with the jurors and spectators. The defense strategies employed by the Chijon family were as shocking as their crimes. Their lawyers attempted to argue that their actions were driven by desperation rather than malice, a claim that was met with skepticism from both the public and legal experts. They sought to portray their clients as victims of societal neglect rather than cold-blooded killers. Despite these attempts at justification, public perception remained overwhelmingly negative. The media coverage surrounding the trial was intense, with daily updates on proceedings that captivated audiences across South Korea. Editorials condemned not only the gang members but also questioned how such violence could occur within society. As evidence mounted against them, including confessions from some gang members who turned on each other to save themselves, it became increasingly clear that justice would be served swiftly. The trial concluded within a few months, remarkably fast, given the severity of the crimes. On November 2, 1995, all but one member of the Chijon family received death sentences for their roles in these horrific acts. The only member spared was Lee Gyung-suk, Kim Gi-hwan's girlfriend, who had been complicit but was granted leniency due to her cooperation with authorities. The verdict sent shockwaves through South Korean society, a nation grappling with its understanding of crime and punishment. The rapid resolution of this case underscored both public outrage at the gang's actions and a collective desire for closure. The aftermath of the Chijon family's horrific crimes reverberated throughout South Korea, leading to significant legal repercussions and profound societal reflection. Following their arrest in late 1994, all members of the gang, except for Lee Gyung-suk, were sentenced to death for their brutal acts on November 1, 1994. This verdict not only marked a pivotal moment in the pursuit of justice, but also reignited a fierce debate surrounding the death penalty in South Korea. The sentencing outcomes were swift and decisive. Within just 25 days of their arrest, the court delivered its verdict, reflecting the public's demand for justice in light of the heinous nature of the crimes. The Chijon family's actions had shocked a nation already grappling with issues of crime and social inequality. The death sentences were seen as a necessary measure to restore a sense of safety and order. However, the implications of these sentences were complex. While many citizens supported capital punishment as a means to deter future violence, others questioned its morality and effectiveness. The Chijon family case highlighted the broader societal issues that contributed to their actions: economic disparity, mental health struggles, and a sense of disenfranchisement among youth. As the public absorbed the details of the trial and its outcomes, discussions began to emerge about crime, poverty, and mental health in South Korea. The gang's ideology, rooted in resentment towards the wealthy, spurred conversations about socioeconomic inequality and how it can lead individuals down dark paths. Media coverage extensively highlighted these themes, prompting public discourse on how systemic failures allowed such violence to flourish unnoticed. The chilling reality that young men could be driven to commit such atrocities by feelings of hopelessness and anger became a focal point for societal reflection. Many began to advocate for comprehensive support systems aimed at addressing mental health issues and providing opportunities for marginalized youth. The Chijon family's crimes served as a stark reminder that societal neglect can have dire consequences. As South Koreans grappled with this dark chapter in their history, there was a collective realization that addressing root causes, such as poverty and lack of mental health resources, was essential for preventing future tragedies. Ultimately, the aftermath of the Chijon family case catalyzed a movement towards reforming systems that contribute to social inequities. It underscored the importance of community engagement and proactive measures in crime prevention. The societal impact of the Chijon family's actions extended far beyond their individual crimes. They prompted critical conversations about justice, morality, and responsibility within society. As South Korea continues to navigate these complex issues, it is imperative that citizens engage actively in discussions surrounding crime prevention and social justice, ensuring that such darkness does not take root again. As we conclude this episode, we reflect on the harrowing journey through the story of the Chijon family, an exploration of brutality, despair, and the societal conditions that it can give rise to unimaginable evil. We have examined the historical context of South Korea in the early 1990s, the formation of a gang driven by hatred, and their descent into horrific crimes that shattered lives and communities. The aftermath of these events revealed not only the legal repercussions faced by the gang members, but also ignited critical conversations about crime, poverty, and mental health. This story serves as a chilling reminder of humanity's darker side and underscores our collective responsibility to address the root causes of violence. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, then check out these videos on the screen now. If you have a topic suggestion, please send it to the email in the description, and as always, remember to like, comment, share the video, and subscribe to our channel. And remember, the only thing scarier than this story is missing out on our next video.